Well then, hello friends, friendlies, and all the others. Jellord here. And I'm just doing another Visions of Mana game, gameplay video, I guess. But, I'm just gonna kinda knock out some of these side quests mindlessly while I talk about some, topics in gaming here. Got a few notes jotted down. I've kind of tempered my format a little bit here so I can keep things structured a little bit. But yeah, speaking of side quests, I think that's probably a good place to start the conversation. Excuse me. But anyway, let me start out by saying side quests suck in like almost every game. Like if you compare the amount of games with good side quests to the amount of games with side quests at all, I'd argue that it's like a fraction of 1% of games has good side quests. Like this side quest, for instance, I had to go beat some enemy that was like level 50.
Becoming a true soul guard.
And I just got a special attack plus. Alright. That is one of the ability seeds. And here's the thing, okay, I got this item, Class Strike. I know what that is, but what is a special attack technically? Increases special attack damage by 20%. Is that... Special attacks. Right on, so that's just like the hard attack, the triangle. That's kind of a weird thing to call the hard attack, or I guess the special attack. With this particular class, Val beats the shit out of them with his shield. So actually, not a terrible item. Strength by 20, Blade Sigil. What could I replace it with though? Right on. Class strike damage, oath to the tide. This is a tough choice here. I do strike a lot with the. It's a tough one. I guess I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna put it on somebody else. I'm gonna put it on my girl here, Palomina. Surprisingly, she almost has as much attack power as Val right now using this. Using the class that she's in with the Scythe, what is Reaper? Reaper is the class. She's got the Dark Elemental equipped on. You know what? This item is cool that I just got, but I'll swap it for the Luck Sigil on my boy here. But here's the thing. Point being, most side quests suck. Like this is a classic side quest here. Go into a town. Hey, there's another side quest that just appeared. I wonder what this one's gonna be. Go into a town, talk to somebody, and they tell you to go kill something. You come back, you get the reward. Now, most of the time, and this totally blows, most of the time the reward is just money, like for most games. And it's like, half the time, in a lot of games, there's nothing to even fucking buy. There's nothing to buy. Okay. Where there's a quill, there's a way. Now let's see. I bet you this is going to be me having to kill... Good lord. Find a special quill. Promise fulfillment. Or fulfilled. That's an interesting sounding move. Like I was saying, oftentimes Most of the time, like, all the quests in, like, every game I've played have been mindless fetch quests, or mindlessly going to kill an enemy. And then going back and reporting the quests. It's like some games have solved this whole quest reporting bullshit by just allowing you to complete the quests on the fly while you're out and about. The quest is just done when you do it, instead of having to go back to the person. But one of the things they can't seem to shake is like, oh, you have to give some item back to the person one way or another, because the quest has to involve getting something for someone. And it's like, that shit's completely boring and so done to death. And it's every game. Every game is go up, mindless dialogue with the NPC, just like I had with this. I'm supposed to fetch this dude a quill, but it's not giving me any prompt. I have no idea about any quill. Been to pretty much every area in the game. Only place I can think of that might have something to do with a quill is the Dark Sanctuary, where they have all the knowledge kept and stupid bullshit like that. But the Dark Archives, my mistake. But most of these side quests in games, and this game's not exempt, are just like, whatever's going on with the NPC, whatever they're talking about, it's just button mash city. Doesn't matter. Mash through it. 90% of players, they're gonna mash through it. They're not gonna give a shit. Let's see. Muguet, however the hell you say that, is ready to take the matrimony papers to his girlfriend so they can sign them together, but has forgotten the quill that tradition dictates he must bring. Being a perfectionist that he is, no ordinary quill will do for Muguet. Should you come across a special quill in your travels, he asks that you give it to him next time you meet. Right. Okay, so I'm thinking it's maybe the archives. This quest is actually semi-interesting, surprisingly. Go figure, I talk about how quests suck, and then I run into the one quest that's actually making me think about some shit, not just taking me to a flag, which was what I was about to bring up. Like, most side quests are you following a fucking flag in modern games. It just shows you a point. And some people say they prefer that because they may have lived in a time when side quests, when games didn't hold your hand like that, and they just got wretchedly stuck not knowing what to do. And I mean, I've been there, you know? But in some ways, I prefer that, because don't you think that that is the actual role-playing? Isn't that you role-playing? Like, going around and investigating and talking to people and figuring out what you have to do, and like using logic like I am right now. I'm thinking, like, where can I find a quill? What area have I gone to that might have a quill? I'm thinking the Dark Archives here. So far, I haven't had any luck. I'm hoping that there's maybe a scribe I can talk to or something. But at least I'm thinking about this now. Most of the time the quest, it just takes you to a flag where the enemy you need to kill is, or the person you need to speak with. And you go there, you do it, you come back, you get whatever reward. And typically the rewards are superfluous. They're completely pointless. Waste of time. And this is the case with so many role-playing games. Like, the only side quests that I could think of that really mattered, that I thought, not to say they mattered, that I thought were fun and interesting, were actually in older games, like Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy IV. Even back Final Fantasy 1 and 2, for fuck's sake. Like, I didn't play 3 too much, just because I'm just now playing through the DS version. I wasn't the type of person who was playing the fan hacks of that game back in the day or anything like that. I didn't really grow up with a computer, so... But the side quests for those games, although there weren't many of them, they always led you to a crucial piece of equipment. A powerful weapon. A special piece of equipment. For instance, like, side quests in Final Fantasy VI. A few of the side quests led to Edgar acquiring more of his machines. You know, like, Like when you're in Zozo, you have to set the clock correctly to get the chainsaw. Or if you want to get the debilitator early on, you want to steal it from the machine that grabs you when you're escaping the Magitech factory. Like, that was cool. And nearly every character in Final Fantasy VI had some little side quest tied to them. I mean, admittedly, for Edgar, it was probably just, for the most part, it was just the chainsaw and the air anchor. Later, you get that from the Coliseum. Alright, this one's going to be a little bit tough. I don't think I'm going to be able to figure it out off the cuff here. I'm going to switch to something else. What am I completed? Let's see, Vitality Elixir. Once again, worthwhile. Vitality Elixir is permanent stat increases. So I'll say, like, one thing that this game got right, I think, is for the side quests, the rewards are worth it. Like, granted, yes, some of the side quests, they do just give you money, and there's not a whole lot to buy. But that's yet to be seen. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some super purchases at the end, which I think every game, every RPG worth its weight in salt should have a super purchase shop. And what I mean by that is some shop that has hella expensive shit towards the end of the game. Think like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Think about like the duplicator, you know? It's like 300,000, like just an astronomical amount of money, so that there is something to build towards in the game. I remember always thinking, like in the playing Zelda, I was always disappointed about collecting so many rupees in those games, and there was really nothing to spend it on. It's like in A Link to the Past, you could spend it on increasing your bombs and arrows to maximum, but like ultimately, there really was, like, once you did most of the stuff in the game, there wasn't much to do with the currency. So it's yet to be seen. Like maybe at some point here in the game, I'm gonna get a chance to spend all this money that I'm building up from these quests. Who knows? But I'll say that one thing this game does well with the side quests is it does give you worthwhile rewards, because the rewards are either permanent stat increasing items or their abilities. And to me, that's much better than most role-playing games do. One thing I will say that I'm not terribly pumped about is, like, there's nothing dynamic about taking on these quests. Like, I don't really give a shit what the NPCs have to say. I know it's just going to be a little dialogue box of unrelated horse shit, and it's going to be unrelated bullshit, unrelated to the main story, unrelated to the characters. There's not going to be any decisions of significance, which brings me to my second point. Like, most role-playing games, even if they get the reward side of it right, that's funny, I can't get in the cup. Even if they get the reward side of the quest right, like this game does, the act of actually completing the quest is lame as hell. It's not fun. It's just button pressing through dialogue that doesn't matter. Here's another example of a quest that's recently appeared in newer games. It'll ask you to find some vista and take a photo, basically. Like, shit, I think that's something you did in Forspoken too. Which is whatever. They're trying to come up with more dynamic side quests to make it slightly more interesting. Like this crap. Mother told me that in ancient times, armies once fought for control of these lands. Though it was once a bloody battlefield, time has transformed into a beautiful place we see today, so full of life. I understand why Father did what he did, why he left us, but how can you expect a child to comprehend? To me, it just seemed like he'd abandoned us. I was devastated. I felt so alone. If I'm being honest, finding the locations for my father's paintings doesn't give me any desire to see him. All I want is a glimpse of his mind as he traveled the world in search of medicine for Mother. That's all. Thank you, traveler. I think it's time for my stay at Illustria or Illistana to come to an end, and the next stop in my journey will be the free city of Tata. Should our paths cross there, can I count on your help again? It's like, yes, bitch, sure. Here's the thing.
One step closer to becoming
Don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. Like, I didn't have a choice to make there. There was, like, maybe if I had some choice, like if she told me to select what I believed to be the most beautiful vista, and if there was a series of them that I could go to, and then I could go to each one and check it, and then tell her, you know what, I think from this angle, it's the most beautiful. Like, and then maybe that would have some effect on her being able to sell a painting or something. I understand that the little backstory here is about her dad's painting, whatever. They could have spun that in a completely different way, made that quest a little more dynamic, and made me feel like I had a sense of agency. And this is what this is something that the Fallout games did really well. Most of the quests you'd run into in Fallout games involved you making some kind of decision. It's like you could kill everybody involved. You could choose between one side or the other of a dispute. Oftentimes these decisions were charged with a sort of karmic value where it would add to or subtract from your reputation. So in a long-term effect is your reputation being affected, which is going to color the way that people talk to you. In a short-term effect, it's going to change the outcome of that quest in a significant way, meaning one side or the other side will live or die or whatever. Let's see, what am I looking for here? High quality pigment, so I'm guessing it's just a little red glowing item that I have to find in this search sphere here. A red pigment, see, there it is right there. And once again, this is just another little variation on a search quest, but instead of the flag taking me directly to where I need to go, it's going to take me to around where I need to go. And then here we go. Once again, back into the air, watching this stupid flammy animation. Yet again, they should have given an option to turn this off or on. I'd rather it just go... And look, sometimes it even has to load the damn animation. For fuck's sake. I'd rather it... And then I have to skip it every time. And the time it takes to skip, it takes like half the animations already. It's ridiculous. Where the... What? Sure. Good lord. And here we go again. Running back to this idiot, talk to him, get my reward, and then keep knocking him out. It's so uninteresting. And this takes me on to my next point. It's like I was saying, the Fallout side quests are good because there's actually a sense of agency. Like, side quests, because the main story is going to be the main story for the most part. Some games, yeah, they have ways of affecting the story, like what characters are going to be there at the end for you, if you end up being a good guy or a bad guy, but by and large, the game plays out the same. Even if you're talking about Mass Effect or Fable or any of the fairly well-known games for giving you an affinity based on the choices you make, the game ends up, you know, the actual point A to point B to point C ends up pretty much the same. It's just the conclusion that changes. This must have been a real old quest or something, because I didn't make anything off that. A good side quest, see, because the story, for the most part, it's going to be set in stone. What's going to happen is going to happen. It's like, for instance, in Mass Effect, you always end up in the same place for the final battle, facing the same person for the most part. If I remember correctly, for the original Mass Effect, I don't think you can change who you end up fighting as the last boss. But you can change the ways you fight him. I mean, shit, I think the way that I beat the game is I browbeat the dude into committing suicide, which was completely ridiculous. And so there were different ways of beating him, but at the end of the day, you were still going to end up there. God damn it, I was I was already where I needed to be. You're still going to end up there. You're going to end up at those points. You're going to go to the same places. It's just the details in between are changed. But it creates a greater sense of involvement as a player when you're given some choices, at least some agency in what characters are going to make it to the end with you and which ones aren't. It crafts a better illusion, if you ask me, for the player to feel like they have a sense of agency, and that sense of agency is what ends up augmenting those side quests the most. Sure, it's good for the main storyline, but the side quests, here's the thing, you can go in any divergent way with the side quests that you want, and it's not going to mess up the main story, which means you can craft some little side quest and have decisions that have an actual impact on that side quest without impacting the main story. So it's like, the side quests are really, they should be the most interesting things in your game because they're not, by the very nature of them, they're not going to be set on rails, right? Yeah, alright, looks like we're fighting. I'm kind of wondering what this gunk slime might be weak against. I'm going to try Holy at first, I suppose. Oh my goodness. God damn it, the targeting is kind of obnoxious. Okay, that's not working. Let's try Fire. There we go. Ugh. I'm gonna use my big boy power here to really fuck them up. So yeah, in the last video when I was talking about the summon abilities, it didn't work the way that I thought it did. It was more, you summon the monsters and they're like a spell more than anything. They're not, they just come out, they do their thing, they do the damage, and then they disappear. So I thought maybe they would actually just be out for a little while and continuously deal damage to, I suppose I can cast Earth on the rest of my guys here so that they can be dealing extra damage as well. But yeah, they pretty much, they just summon the enemy and they unleash an attack. So it's very much like a magic spell with just a more gaudy animation. Which is whatever, it's cool, but not exactly the kind of summoning I thought it was the first time I envisioned having a summoner in my party. But you know, whatever. They just come out and hit and disappear. But yeah, back on topic. And you know, sorry guys, I'm just practicing at this, so if I seem a little scatterbrained and I'm still like kind of getting used to talking while I'm paying attention to the game. But excuse me, untouchable. Let's see, extends the invulnerability period when evading attacks. I'm gonna put that on because that seems pretty awesome. See, like I said, the rewards are worth it, and I think that there's like a few key components for there's a few key components for making a good side quest. First, you need, let's see, Arvet's Pasture. Alright. First, you need to have a good reward. It can't just be money. Secondly, you need to create a sense of agency. Like, make it feel like it's not just a list of chores that the player is completing. Like, the side quests give you an opportunity for expendable characters. You know, like, damn it, is this where I was? I was already there. What the hell am I doing? Damn it. It's an opportunity for expendable characters, like meaning characters that can live or die, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want with them. Hold up, where do I have to return this stupid... Okay, I have to kill crawlers here. Okay, cool, I just have to go kill some damn crawlers, what the hell. And this is obnoxious. These enemies, once again, I got this quest, this just appeared because I was going back to finish everything off. Like, to give you an idea how the formatting works for the game. At the start of the game, they pretty much introduce you to everybody, and then they build you up to a point where you acquire all the elemental vessels and get your party, and then they give you Flammy, just like in the original game. You get the dragon, you gain flight, and then it opens up the battles with the 5 Benevodons, and that's part of the story. These are like elemental creatures that represent each of the lands, each of the elemental lands that your characters come from. Pretty much when you're progressing in the game, there's areas that are off limits as you're passing through, and these are the areas you end up coming back to fight the Benevodons. And it ends up being an elementally themed dungeon. Which is cool, and by that point you've already defeated 2 of them because of the story, and you end up with these 5 dungeons, and they open the game up to you. You have Flammy, you go back wherever you want, but for the most part you've explored quite a lot of the world. But they're like, you can take these Benevodons on in any sequence that you want. So this was another example of how, giving the player a sense of agency, but in this case, I guess it's cool because you can choose, like, it's like, each of the Benevodons kind of represents this heartfelt moment for each character where it's like the Wizard of Oz, you know, like the Cowardly Lion finds out that he was not, you know, he wasn't a coward in the first place. He just thought he was, you know, like everybody kind of realizing they had the power within that they always needed or whatever, you know. It's a cliche trope, but here's what I'll say. It's an inoffensive trope, which I'm going to get back to that in a little while if I keep this video going as far as the topics are concerned. But it's an inoffensive trope, which I think is a good thing. Something everybody can relate to. Everybody can get behind it. It's not a terrible message, although it's very basic. But each of the characters kind of has their aha moment, finds their power. Their psychological power, you know. They break through their trauma, however you want to interpret it. And I can get behind it. It's cool. But you go through and you beat these 5 dungeons, you beat the 5 Benevodons, and then I imagine it's going to be skeeting me out to the end of the game where I'm going to face the big baddies, right? Here's some crawlers. Like, yeah, this is dumb. Like, maybe I was supposed to pick up this mission earlier, but, you know, I've beat 3 out of the 5 Benevodons, and now I'm running around taking care of these side quests, and it's like these side quests appeared after I exited these areas, and in some cases you weren't able to come back to these areas because until you gain the ability to fly, the fast travel only lets you move around whatever continent you're on, which I get it, you know, these meridians, they make them out like they're real things, you know, like they exist in the world instead of just being assumed like most RPGs. They kind of just don't really talk about what the save point is, you know, it's just there. In here, they try to account for it. Look at this. I missed this guy. How did I miss him?
Greetings, fellow floral friend.
Yeah, I was looking at the trophies. I only have like 20% for all the places that this little asshole has appeared. So that'll probably be the hardest trophy to get in this game, I imagine, because he's just all over the place like this. But, God, it's so random that he was right there, and I just so happened to come back. Here's my point, though. So happened to come back. I didn't come back here until after I got Flammy, which means... Look at me, I'm level 56. I'm out here fighting these level 14 enemies. Like, this is... What kind of a side quest is this, man? Like, it's pointless. It's a waste of damn time.
My thanks.
The reward is probably trash. This is an example of a pointless side quest. This is just filler. Look, I guess Magic Elixir, cool. I'm gonna get a permanent stat increase. So yeah, it's worth it, but like, I'm just running around waiting until I find these crawlers and they don't hurt me. So it's like, this is kind of, and this happens all the time in games. Like, if you're an avid RPG player like me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This shit, you see this shit all the time. And here's the problem with trying to be a completionist this day and age. I used to be a completionist. Like, I used to want to do everything in a game. And it was, in a weird way, it's almost like me showing my appreciation to the game. It's like, I do everything. And then I really feel like I finished it and I gave it all the time that the game really deserved. And also, it makes me feel like I never have to come back to the game too, in a way. So it's kind of like a dual purpose kind of thing. But I've started to realize with a lot of modern games now, especially, like, trying to be a completionist isn't worth it. It used to be in the past, when I was a kid and stuff, and we didn't just know everything because we could look it up. I wanted to see all the little cutscenes that I'd missed. I wanted to see every little nook and cranny. Now I don't really care so much anymore with newer games because there's just too much bullshit. And to try to get a platinum, it becomes so tedious. And even this right now, just doing these side quests, finishing all the side quests, something like that in the game, becomes so tedious. Like Xenoblade Chronicles. I did every side quest in that game. I finished every single side quest. I liked that game enough that I did it. And it was a lot, man, and it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. The coolest thing about the side quests was, like, getting the different Monados. That's all I cared about. And getting everybody's final abilities, like, in their little ability tree or whatever. And that was it, man. Like, I didn't care. I wanted to get those last abilities, and really that the incentive there was enough to get me to do it. But the side quests themselves were awful. Just awful, boring shit. Don't get me wrong, some of them were good, some of them were fun, but a lot of them, and they had a really good UI. They had a really good UI, especially in the remake. And I just loved the world so much. They did it well. I wouldn't shit all over the side quests for that game. I did do them all, and I liked it. And for the most part, I'd say like at least half, like the rewards were worthwhile. At least you had to do everything to get it, the final rewards. So yes, it was worthwhile, I think. That was an example where it worked. But going back to like the core components of what makes a good side quest, giving the player a proper reward, a reward that matters, at least some permanent stat increasing item, or a weapon that is unique, that has a unique quality, or a piece of equipment that has a unique quality that's going to be beneficial. Like if you're coming up to a fucking poison cave, right, in a game, have there be a side quest where some motherfucker gives you a nullify poison amulet, right? Or gives you 3 of them. And if you take the time to actually do the side quests in the town and pay attention to what is going on, you could potentially avoid getting the shit poisoned out of you in the upcoming cave, right? Alright, delivered it. Let's see, I'm gonna get a spirit syrup. So that's at least some permanent life increase. Return to the quest giver. See this dumbass shit. letter delivering. I've done that a million times in games. Delivering damn letters. All the while, I get to watch this Flammy animation that I also have to watch a load screen for. Good God. Don't get me wrong, everybody. I like this game. I do like it. But this is like some shit that all RPGs suffer from this. It's like, if you're an RPG lover, oh, there's another quest already that popped up here. If you love RPGs, man, like this is just what you deal with while you're going through your chores. That's another thing. It's like this game isn't even open world, and it's already kind of clubbing me over the head a bit with these side quests. And you talk about an open world game. I'm sick of the game before I'm even out of the first area if I'm trying to do everything. Like, that's what happened to me with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's like, I did everything in the grassy plains. I did all the stuff. Went to all the points of interest. Did all the crap. And by then, I was bored. I was bored to tears. And then all I could think was, like, now I'm going to go to the next area. And it was just going to be another big open area where I had to do a whole other list of chores again. And man, they even had like the fucking Ubisoft towers, man. Like, whatever that quest was, good grief. 8 great Rabbites, and where the Wind Sanctum, word. So, yeah, oh man. Anyway, I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but like I was saying before, you need a proper reward, and you need to create a sense of agency for the character, because since the main story can't be fucked with too much, because you can't make it that dynamic, it's just, whoa. It's going to be on rails to some extent. It's going to have to be on rails, right? Because you're telling the story. Like, you can make some minor variations, like we were talking about in Mass Effect and Fable and Fallout. Alright, I'm trying to remember what I'm even supposed to be fighting here.
Quite a bit of lucre.
Is that what I'm supposed to be fighting? Let's see what it says. No, what's it supposed to be? We're going after Great Rabbites. Okay. Yeah, here's another example. I'm just going to be like progressing through this dungeon until I run into these damn Great Rabbites. There they are. Yeah, this 20% damage with the special attack is pretty brutal with these shield strikes. And then I can sit here and charge it to do even more damage. So that's cool. That was worth it. That was worth it. Side quest. But yeah, a good reward, sense of agency, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really helps it out. Oh yeah, quality over quantity. Well, like if I'm coming to a new town or settlement or whatever it is, like 3-4 side quests tops, and even that feels like a lot. I think like 2 to 3 quality side quests is all the more any town or area really needs. And that's not to mention, like, you can have your post-game quests where, you know, like, once you're lined up to fight the last boss, maybe some quests will open up in the older towns. But because, since you limit the side quests the amount of them, the fewer that you have, the more high quality you can make them. The more you can tell a story inside of a story, right? And here's a little tip for all these DEI-obsessed woke-tards. These little side quests, this is where you can inject your bullshit, guys, and not piss everybody off too bad. Just keep it out of the main story so people don't think the whole thing is about that. Which brings me on to, like, a crucial point that I kind of wanted to make later, but I'll make it now a little bit. Like, if you add too much of something to a game, it becomes about that thing. So it's like you can only add so much of anything to a game or a movie before it becomes about that thing and for the people surrounding that thing. So, example, you can only add so much gay shit to a game before it's a game about gay shit. Okay? And that's no disrespect, you know, like I have nothing against gay shit. But it's like you can only add so much of it before the game is for gay people and about gay stuff. Like you add, after a certain amount of gay shit, it is a game about gay shit. That's it. And the same goes for anything else. You add any kind of political sentiment to a game. You add so much, if you add so much socialism to a game, after a certain threshold, it becomes a game about socialism. And I made another video about intentional fallacy and all of that. Well, your messages are supposed to be implied, not explicit. Like explicit messaging in a story is just. That's bad writing. Everybody just thinks that that's bad writing. You know, like, things should be implicit, not explicit, when it comes to messaging in a story. And that's just it. It's pretty explicit when it's hammered into the main story, when the main character themselves is an extension of the message. It's too ham-fisted. Here's the idea, though. You want to add you want to throw that in as a side quest, where you have a character that's representative of a different culture. That's a great way to slide it in there without making the whole game about it. And it's like I said, after a certain amount, then the thing becomes about that. It's no longer just a story, it's a story about. You see what I'm saying? You see the distinction there? You can only add so much of a certain trope, cultural quality, message, moral. You can only add so much before it becomes about that and for the people that represent that idea. And like any great piece of art, it's not going to be hung up on whatever stupid political topic is going on at the time. It's going to focus on the human condition in a more general way, in a way that applies to everybody, not 1% of the population. It's like a story that's going to, let's see here, find the source of the creepy gaze at Castle Crescenio, or whatever the hell it's called, okay. Yeah, you can only add so much of something to a story before it becomes a story about that thing. And that's the problem with representation. And once it becomes about that thing, I'm sorry to say it, but you're alienating the core audience at that point. You're alienating the core audience after you make it about a topic that has a niche group of people attached to it. And that's just the reality. And that's nothing against the niche group in question, any of the groups in question. And like, none of that shit matters. It's just that, like, when you, for instance, we could even use fucking baseball as an example, right? As stupid as that might sound. I could make you an anime, make you a comic book, let's say. Let's say I'm going to write a comic book. It's supposed to be about superheroes, but for some reason I just keep bringing up shit about football. And before I know it, I'm just every new comic I'm writing just has to do with whatever football team is in the town that this superhero happens to be in. And then before you know it, the story's kind of about football, isn't it? If I just keep talking about the football and not the superhero. And it seems really weird because you'd think the superhero was the more interesting part of the story. But I just keep talking about football, right? That's basically kind of where you're at with the fan base. Like, if you keep talking about this off-topic shit that has nothing to do with that's actually supposed to be interesting in the story, people are gonna get turned away. Just naturally. Like, it just makes sense. And it has nothing to do. I'm kind of curious. Where's this thing I'm supposed to be able to open or investigate or find? That's like in the ground or some shit. Okay. But point being, you can only add so much of something to a story before the story becomes about the thing. And that's, to me, that's just common sense. Right? And I don't know why, but it's like,
Where to next?
they can't seem to help themselves. And I think we can probably solve we could hit two birds with one stone here. And maybe if some of these companies just relegated some of this stuff to the side quests and games instead of being the main story, it would also help to improve the side quests.
Helping out people in need can be so rewarding.
Or it could, you know, especially if you gave some kind of moral sense of agency. But, you know, I mean, I digress, but it's like I said, you can only add so much of anything to a story or a game before it becomes about that thing. And once it becomes about that thing, you're alienating your core audience. So, and I guess the way that I was able to relate that to side quests is, side quests are an excellent Assistant Four Wings. Is it going to show me where these are, or... Okay, so it is. Yeah, that's the point. It's like, I don't care about, like, I have no feelings about any special groups. I think that a lot of the stuff is weak, and I think a lot of the people are posers just because they really badly want to be part of some kind of group, because everybody's so lost these days. And everybody is really kind of trying to find their own custom handicap to explain away their underperformance, because they just really, they don't want to try as hard as society needs them to in order to keep a roof over their head and have food and, you know, all the shit they need. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, side quests, that would be a great way for them to sneak their DEI bullshit in without offending the normies too much. Because and I hate using terms like normies because it's so derogatory towards like the general customer base. And I say customer base, not consumers. I think saying words like normies, that's like an adjacent term to consumer. It's like you're here to just hungry hippo your way through shit, which is precisely how they see us. And they don't give a shit. They're just gonna feed us the trash, and they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck how we feel about it. So it's like, I think the better way to think of it is to think of us as customers, you know? And I think that for Gather Assistant Four Wings. I'm gonna look at this item here. Okay, wings from an insect. They're considerably lighter than the size might suggest. Okay, so I'm looking for bugs around here. See, this is interesting. I actually had to like look at an item and look up its description to figure out what kind of bug I'm looking for. See, I like games that give a purpose to your bestiary, you know? Like, create a quest that forces me to look in the bestiary to get an idea of which monster I'm hunting. That makes me feel like I'm role-playing. I got on a tangent there, but yeah, one way, if they absolutely have to put this DEI garbage into games, which I mean the shit is getting pushed by governments at this point, so clearly it must be done. Then a great way for them to get it into games without upsetting the normies, as they are so falsely labeled, because I don't, what the hell, I'm not trying to fight you assholes, like, are you even worth the time? Die.
I may look like a flower, but I sure sting like a bee.
Oh lord. That was some premium cringe. Ooh, I see a bug over there.
Let's go. This feels great.
Yeah, assistant.
Really?
Remember to listen for the one.
Come at me.
That's two more? Yeah, how many times have I done this quest? Fucking go kill the enemy. And this, instead of telling me to kill 8 of this enemy or that enemy, they're just telling me to get the items from the enemies. It's like, but it's the exact same quest. Like, as Ghosts, as it's a Slay quest. It's the exact same thing, but they've masked it as a collector's quest. And then sometimes they'll send you on a collector's quest that is actually a Slay quest. And boy, does that throw me for a loop when that happens. This just lends itself back to how the side quests are so very uninteresting in many games. But this game may have boring, uninteresting side quests, but the rewards are worth it. So it's keeping me going. It's like permanent stat increasing items. Yes, please and thank you, I'll do it. At least it's worth it. Am I going to read the dialogue? No, I'm thumbing through all that shit, and some poor bastard who spent all this time writing this crap that nobody gives a shit about will be an unsung hero of the side quests in this game. So yeah, I guess I stretched that topic out for a while about side quests, and it kind of led me into a tangential topic of, you know, the latest and greatest DEI infusion in gaming and media in general that absolutely nobody asked for, nobody needs, nobody wants, nobody needs to be reminded to be diverse. It's like, even if you live in a small town, man, like, yes, chances are you're going to be encountering every race of people at this point, and it's like everybody's like struggling to just maintain. Nobody is, once again, the normies are not out here having fucking race wars in the streets, like the government will have you believe or want you to engage in. Anyway. Diversity just happens. It doesn't. When they're trying to shut... That brings me on to the topic of how inauthentic most of the diversity in gaming is, too. It's like, you know, I watch a lot of the latest YouTube guys, you know, like Hypnotic and Smash JT and Yellow Flash, you know, all of the usual suspects. The guys labeled as like right-wing extremists and what have you. So I'm familiar with all the stories and the demonizations and everything that they dislike. And this is what I'll say about the DEI thing. It's like, I don't think there's anything wrong with like there being multiracial characters, female protagonists. None of that shit actually bothers me. Unless it becomes about that, which connects back to what I was saying earlier. If you add too much of a certain thing to a game, or movie, it becomes about that. Well, it looks like I'm down to my 5-minute marker. I think I can only record 60 minutes at a time. So I guess I'll just wrap it up with touching on this last topic about the diversity. The problem with it is a lot of these companies, it's just a whole bunch of white people trying to champion this shit. And it's just not a good look. It's not a good look when it's a bunch of white people trying to tell you what it's like to be black, trying to show you what it's like to be Hispanic, trying to show you what it's like to be any ethnicity other than totally fucking white people. When they try to represent ethnic people, and I don't know if it qualifies, if it somehow qualifies me, but I'm of a Hispanic origins. Like, whenever they try to represent that shit, it tokenizes the people that they're trying to represent. Just like this bullshit in Assassin's Creed Shadows right now. They're playing hip hop in the background while Yasuke is kicking the shit out of a bunch of tiny Japanese dudes. Like, that is the kind of tokenization that comes out of this forced diversity, where it's a bunch of people who haven't lived that life experience. They don't know shit about it. And you could try to make an argument, oh, this is why we need these consulting agencies. It's like, yeah, maybe. Like, I could have seen them, like, I don't know, getting some consultants from Japan to help them with that game. That would have made sense, right? Instead of getting consultants to help them, I don't know, represent black culture more effectively. I don't know. But I could see room in what I've just said to make an argument for these consulting groups. Like, oh, you need authentic people of that culture to represent those characters. Sure, if your story is about that, and that connects back to what I was saying in the first place, if you add too much of something to a story, it becomes about that. So yeah, if you're trying to make a video game that took place in like the blackest neighborhood of the Bronx during the 1970s or 80s, you probably want to find some people who know some shit about that, who have maybe lived it or have historical documentation surrounding it. This is my point. If you add enough of it, suddenly it becomes about that. Then you should get the consultants. But if the game isn't about that, you don't need consulting on the one black character in the game that happens to be there because they're just there. Because people just normally have a black person in the screenshot in real life. They're there. Like, if the person is just organically there and the whole story isn't just about somebody being black, you don't need a fucking consultant about it, is my point. But anyway, like, it's these people who aren't a part of that lived experience trying to represent this shit that bothers me the most about it. And that's when you end up tokenizing everybody. That's when DEI ends up tokenizing everybody. And it's like, I don't think everybody wants somebody else to stand up for them every fucking time to fight the fight for them. It's like, people need to fight some fights for themselves, you know? But anyway, and this has just been my epic rant about side quests in video games and agency, what makes a good side quest, and just shoehorning too much bullshit into a game until the game becomes about that bullshit. And I guess that's just my thoughts on side quests and kind of just the state of gaming and diversity, you know. I hope that somebody finds this entertaining, and it's just another practice video for my channel. So, and once again, you know, I'm not trying to offend. I got nothing against any parties. I don't care about anybody's beliefs, and that's the core of it. I don't care. So I don't want it all shoehorned into my games and media. I like, everybody should have a right to believe and live the way they love, and that's great. But it doesn't. I don't need everything that I enjoy on my free time to be invaded by it, right? And I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. But anyway, this is Jellord out, and hope you all have a pleasant day. Adios.